It's Friday. It's 7 p.m. It's Talk Radio Europe. I'm Dom Aldworth, and this is the Friday Night Sports Bar.
And the game is over now, obviously, mate. Oh, County Champions and anyone ever. What a victory. Oh, my God, there'll be a big night in the glen. I think I feel like getting sick.
Lo scambia ancora con Alberto, ultimi scenari, rigore, Mirko, tira, go, 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 go!
Oh, no! Oh, my God! Oh, my gosh, no! Come on, no! Oh, God! God bless those kids. I'm sick. I want to throw up.
Welcome to Talk Radio Europe and the Friday Night Sports Bar, coming to you live from the studios. Coming up over the next hour, European Football League action is back on the agenda this weekend as the final straight of the season begins. England cling on in the third and deciding test match against New Zealand to share the series. England opening batsman Nick Compton joins us on the line tonight, so stay tuned for that one. And Andy Murray moves a step closer to the number 2 ranking in the world as he advances to the semi-final at Miami. Richard Tilsley and Stuart Joseph back in the studio with me this evening. Good evening, guys.
Good evening. Hi, Dom.
Welcome back. Have you had a good week?
Very good.
Yeah?
Good. Excellent.
Well, we're going to talk. I've got a surprise for you, by the way.
Thank you.
And Richard, and as for you, you've upset a couple of callers, a couple of listeners out there.
Really?
Good evening to all the listeners, first and foremost. Thanks for tuning in.
I've only upset a couple.
Well, yeah, okay, actually, that's a fair point, isn't it? That woman can't drive in Formula One.
My intention was to upset a lot more than a couple, Dominic.
Well, I'm sure you did, actually. I'm sure you did.
I thought we needed a bit of contention on the sports bar.
Well, I think you have, to a certain extent, a valid point there. You missed the chat, Stu, because I think you're away. We've already got a caller on the line, but we're just going to ask you to hold on for a second, please. We've got a couple of things we need to get through first, so if you can call us back in just a second. Stressing his valid reasons as to why women can't sustain a career in Formula One or top-class motor racing like NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, that sort of thing. And he had some valid reasons.
What I said is that I could never see a woman being able to get to the very top of Formula One because they have physical disadvantages, which I think is very, very difficult, for them to overcome. In the same way that, women have physical advantages in certain sports that, leave men at a disadvantage. It's the same in motor racing.
Well, we are going to leave it at that because we don't want to encourage any calls on that this evening. Formula One is not on the agenda this weekend, but I'm sure we'll be debating that at great length throughout the season. I've really, really missed you, Stu. I've missed you. You've been over in England, I know, with the family and doing
lots sound like a bromance.
Well, I have. I've really missed him. So what I did was I put together something for you because I really missed you that much, Stu. So have a listen to this one.
These are the Dragons. Duncan Bannatyne, Deborah Meaden, Theo Paphitis, Peter Jones, Hilary DeVay. Welcome to the Dragon's Den. Only the best will succeed. The rest will walk away empty-handed.
I'm going to ask you, why?
I think the dimension of the club speaks for itself. It was a massive opportunity for me.
Why would we not use other services that are out there today? Why is your service so much better?
We are adding on competence so that we can provide a better service.
Okay, I'm going to be really tough on you now. You're struggling to look at us. You're struggling to... And that's what you've got to do. You cannot be overawed. Particularly the environment you're going into. Just grab hold of it and say, I don't care how old I am.
It's not a mission of restoring my reputation.
It would be a very short-term relationship, I feel. And what worries me is what then follows. So, because of that, I've got to say, I'm out.
Can I ask you, has anybody told you they think this is a good idea?
Stefan Freund.
I sit here smiling and then I get serious.
Les Ferdinand.
I have never met you in my life before. I am pleading with you not to do it. Won't affect my life at all, but it is going to affect your life.
It is a mission to put Tottenham back on track with titles.
Well, that's if you can get them.
This gathering with Tottenham, gives me even more stability.
Okay, all right. Will another dragon please interrupt me?
Not a great start. Perhaps Theo Paphitis can bring some order to proceedings.
It isn't going to work. Give it up.
You know, I think you've always learned from experience, and
We don't need another short little egomaniac on TV.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
This is ridiculous, and for that reason I'm out.
It's crap.
It's a swift exit. These dragons don't waste time when they can't see an opportunity.
Well, welcome back. What do you think of that, Rich? How true? I know you and AVB have had their problems in the past, but I didn't realise he was in front of the Dragons when he took the Spurs job.
Well, the boy wonder, he's, his reputation seems to be sort of slipping, doesn't it, towards the end of the season? And it's, at one point he looked as though he was doing quite well, and he still may be able to salvage his reputation.
That is so cruel. So cruel. It's a blip. Spurs have had a blip. That's all it is. It happened at the right time. They've had to break the players. They've been away. They're coming back. We've got a big match at Swansea tomorrow. We're all up for it. That was, honestly, that was really cruel.
You're nice little surprise, though, wasn't it?
It's kind of sort of a regular thing, isn't it? In the same way that, Wigan really don't start playing until the clocks go forward. It tends to be that Tottenham stop playing when the clocks go forward.
No, it's going to change tomorrow.
We have to begin the show. We've missed you that much. We haven't had an opportunity to wind you up about Spurs, so we had to bring that in. I enjoyed that very much. And we've got a caller on the line. Good evening, you're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Good morning, Steve and Torre Molinos.
How you doing, Steve?
I'm one of those people who've got a bone to pick with our man.
You always what's this about this bone you got to pick?
Yeah, well, a couple of weeks ago, first of all, it was bad enough you complained about the women. And as I understand, you're...
No, I think women are amazing. But the thing is, I just don't think they're going to ever make amazing Formula One drivers. It'd be great to see. Yeah. But I think they've got so many physiological disadvantages that it's going to be very difficult.
Well, strictly speaking, you're not completely correct about what you say, but we'll pass over that.
Which bits are you saying I'm not correct on?
Well, in terms of strength, women can be as physically strong as a man.
Well, it's not necessarily about physical strength, Steve. It's also about spatial awareness.
Well, listen, I didn't want to go down that road already, and you're trying to push that.
Well, it's a pretty important factor when it comes to determining how good a Formula One driver you are.
Well, there are women that fly a jet plane, so...
Yeah, but that's not the same. Flying a jet plane it's got absolutely nothing to do, with driving a motor car.
Okay. Well, we'll put that to the side anyways. A couple of weeks ago, first of all, you did a roundup on the rugby, and I used to value your experience and your chat. And then you talked about England, but you decided that you was going to leave the French in the bucket down the bottom and not to be considered for the World Cup. Now, bearing in mind they finished where they...
Steve, we can't really talk about the World Cup. It's in 2.5 years, mate.
Yes,
who knows what's going to happen in 2.5 years?
It was bad enough. It was bad enough that you couldn't admit your error with the Welsh against England.
No, I didn't make any error. You're totally incorrect, Steve. If you're going to come on the radio, and start saying that I said this and I said that, you've got to be hold on, no. You've got to be 100% accurate in what you're quoting. And I said the only mistake I made when it came to forecasting the Wales-England match is that I said that Wales would only win by 5 points. Not enough.
You was wrong then, wasn't you?
I was wrong, but I'll tell you one thing, The thing is, so
I think everybody would have been wrong on that.
Every single pundit, who I heard both on television and read in the press, did no way were they predicting, England to get absolutely mullered 33.
You're our pundit. And now the next one. I mentioned to you that Suarez might be on his way. That was one of the things that was making me nervous. Now, at the moment, it's not come to light, to be truthful yet. But at this moment in time now, if we don't qualify for even UEFA, he'll probably be off.
Yeah, but, right, Steve, are you happy with your team?
No, not really.
Okay, were you happier last year?
Actually,
this time last year, were you a happier Liverpool fan than you are this year?
No, to be honest with you, I'm about the same, because we played a match, about two games back. We had just about all of our first team...
Well, can I tell you one thing, Can I tell you one thing? Already, you scored 57 goals in the Premier League this year. You are the second highest goal-scoring team. Last year at this point, you had scored 47, and you were the 11th. You were 11th.
That sounds like a Wolves supporter, mate. It doesn't matter how many goals you score. It's how many you can score.
Well,
how many games you
the
win.
thing is, okay, you're not going to win matches unless you score goals. Okay, do you want to give me? Should I give you some more statistics about your team?
Give me as many statistics.
Okay, right. Okay, can I tell you
now,
this? At this stage last year, okay, you had made 81% pass completions. This year, you've made 85. Okay, your goals per game is 1.9 this year. It was 1.24 last year.
And so what?
Okay, your parcels. Okay, I'll give you another statistic. Okay, that shows how. Now, hold, Steve, stop talking because I'm giving you some really good information here. Okay, that proves to you that your team is improving. Okay, and the final statistic is the passes in the final third of the pitch. This stage last year, you'd made 69.7. At this stage of the season, you've made 73.3. Those are empirical facts that you cannot in any way, okay, ignore and unequivocally prove that your team is on the up.
You've got two.
And as a loyal Liverpool supporter, it's time that you got behind your team and saw what Brendan Rodgers is doing. Do you know that he wrote a 180-page document to present to the board of Liverpool, outlining his vision? Okay.
You're killing me. Listen.
I think that's. I'll tell you something. I think that when you think of the time and effort and the planning that has gone in to make Liverpool great again.
All right, gentlemen. Let me just come in here for a second, Steve. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk. We've got a very important guest coming on in 15 minutes, and we've got some football to get through. So
I'd like to know what Stu thinks.
Please make your point there. We'll give Steve an opportunity to talk here.
I've got one statistic for you, Richard. We're in the same position as we was last year. So you can tell me about how many passes we made and what day we packaged the windows and what speed we was going down the hill. We're in the same situation as we was last year. We're still behind Everton, and I'm sorry, you can go on as much as you like, mate, but you're wrong.
No, you can't. No, Steve, you can't argue with facts, okay? And the fact is that the Brendan Rodgers way of playing, okay, is not going to provide dividends, okay, within its first season. What you have to look at, okay, is the upward sort of surge of the team and look at certain factors. For example, the pass completions, your goals per game, all these sorts of things, the amount of tackles that you've made, and all your statistics are up. And so, I mean, when you look at the empirical factors, okay, it says that you are in a better position now at this stage this year than you were last year, regardless of what your position in the league is, because you're building. Last year you weren't building. You weren't building a team that could ever win.
You've proved to me that A, you will never admit that you're wrong, that B, that the only thing in your life that's most important is a statistic, and 3, that you're slagging off my man, the Tottenham fan, who at least he's honest and loyal.
And D, gentlemen, I'm coming in there now because we've got to move on with the show. Steve, thanks very much indeed for your call. Richard, the job of a pundit is very much to come up with not only his own opinion, but certainly an opinion based on facts and figures, and you've certainly done that. Steve's entitled to his as well as a Liverpool fan. Stu, you would like to give yours?
Just to say, if Steve's listening, personally, the other week you played Spurs tremendous. I mean, the team played tremendous the other week. I mean, the problem is you can't win games every week. You go and lose to Southampton 3-1, like a performance that against Spurs was so good. The problem is you can't keep winning games. I think the team's improved incredibly this year under Rodgers. I think you're playing some great football. The problem is you can't put these wins together and keep it going. And that's something that will come as the team develops.
He needs a central defensive linchpin.
Well, defensively, they're poor. I mean, going forward, I think with the Chelsea boy, who do they buy from Chelsea during the season? Liverpool. Who's playing with Suarez? I can't remember his name, from Chelsea.
Sturridge.
Sturridge. And Sturridge is not actually 100% fit, but when those two click, I think they've got a formidable forward line.
Yeah, but I think the problem is Skirtle is a weak
defensively, they're weak, no question about it. But he'll improve this. He'll have money to spend, and he'll do that. And they're looking at the tables, they've still got a chance to qualify.
Yeah, and there's some very interesting signings that Rodgers is looking to make. There's Christian Eriksen, who I think is at Ajax.
I honestly feel that the back room, they're backing tremendously in the close season.
Gentlemen, we've got another caller on the line. Good evening, you're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Yes, good evening, Dom. It's Gary here. Good evening, gents.
Good evening, Gary. How are you doing?
Have I just heard a Liverpool supporter phone up and say that he's disappointed with his team?
Yeah.
Correct.
Because I've just heard Richard, and I'm bang on with you, Richard, they've got to be chuffed to bits the way they're starting to kick in now. If they give him time, if they give Rodgers time, then he's starting to get a good team together. But the same as most of the so-called big teams, they get a little bit arrogant and they think they should be brilliant all the time.
I mean, every big team, at some stage in their life cycle, has a dip. I mean, if you remember, Manchester United fans remember the 70s, when they fell into the second division. Of course, Tottenham have had a big dip for about 30 years, but
as I say, it makes me laugh, and a lot of other people are fed up with this arrogance of the so-called Big Four. I mean, who are the Big Four anymore? Times are changing, and it's about time some of these supporters started thinking themselves lucky. A lot luckier than some of us. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Gary, I hear you, because we both suffer every week. I'm a Wolves fan. You're a Pompey fan.
I'm a Spurs fan.
You're a Spurs fan, and you think that you have something in common with Gary and myself, who suffer, at 5:45, Central European time every week.
Can I just
knowing
ask
that
Gary,
we're going to come unstuck against some low team?
Gary, can I just ask you, what is happening at Portsmouth at the moment? Are they sorting themselves out? Are they doing a Coventry?
We're coming to court again next month on the 11th or 10th or 12th. They don't actually know. They never give an exact date until a couple of days before, but hopefully the PST, the Portsmouth Supporters Trust, will be kicking in. I've had some dealings with some businessmen myself here, and for a number of hours at Gatwick Airport, coming backwards and forwards. But we're starting off the pitch. Things are starting to come together. More importantly, and at this very moment in time, we should still be leading Preston 1-0 and having our fourth win in a row. But we're getting together. We're really getting some proper club people. Stevie Claridge is just starting up a little academy local, and we've gone back to basics.
And you're still getting some decent crowds down there.
Sorry?
You're still getting some decent crowds, considering where you are.
We always have done, no matter what and this ain't bragging, because, of course, we're not a so-called big team.
No, but Gary, you're a proper old club, Portsmouth.
Exactly. I mean, we had 12,000 last week. We're on the soles of our whatever. We had 12,000 there last week in the freezing cold, brilliant. And that's what real fans are like. They're not there for when they're winning or moaning when they're not in the Champions League or European Cup or whatever. They're in and out. And also, I've got to say this now, and if there's any jocks listening, I'm one of the few Englishmen that's got big respect. I'm a great one, not for much watching the football so much now, but watching the attendances. I've been studying the attendances of most of the teams in the Scottish leagues and the Championship downwards, and I've got nothing but the utmost respect for some of these jocks that's going to watch their team 500, 600, 700 week in, week out, watching their team. That's where the true football lies, and I am surprised at the number of people that dislike the Premier League and the Champions League, and I think one of you gentlemen said it actually just after the Olympics about the attitude of football supporters, football fans, with regards to the game following the Olympics, the sportsmanship, etc. And there's a lot of people fed up with it now.
Well, I agree with you. I think that in many ways that people feel that football, represents everything that's absolutely crap about modern society. And so I hear what you're talking about, Gary.
Anyway, I'll lead off.
Gary, thanks very much for your call. Your blood runs blue. It's great to hear a fan that really continues to back Pompey like that. Is of course in dire straits.
And it's such a shame. Because they are, as I said, they're a proper old club, Portsmouth, and with a really fine tradition, and it's really sad to see what's happened to them.
And Fratton Park's like a Molyneux. These are names that go before us.
Absolutely, and it must be even harder for them because seeing how well Southampton are doing as well.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, let's just talk international football. World Cup qualifiers that took place during the week. In 5 minutes, we've got to link up with Nick Compton, the England batsman, just returned from New Zealand. Fantastic win for Spain. Much needed win for Spain. Italy roll on. Germany roll on. The Netherlands remain unbeaten in the qualification as well. But England, really, they surrendered an initiative. A game of two halves, wasn't it, against Montenegro?
Well, you can't look at the game before San Marino because that was a nonsense. But Montenegro, I thought the team was very good in the first half and very poor in the second half. And that's England to a T. Defensively, you know, Chris Smalling and Lescott didn't look completely in control to me. Cole and Johnson had a decent game. Gerrard is not the man he was, I don't think. Carrick does a job. James Milner was in and out of the game. Cleverley is not an international player. Welbeck had a poor game. Rooney did a little bit. I mean, just generally, this is not a world-class team. We know it isn't. And I think we've just got to look at every game as it goes and just qualify. Doesn't matter how we qualify, as long as we qualify. And we've got a couple of hard games coming up, in the next season, the next bounce of matches. And we've really got to find some form, because Montenegro at home is going to be a hard game for sure. Poland also at home. We're not doing well at home. Moldova at home. And also, don't forget, we have to go away as well to the Ukraine, another hard game. I've got a feeling we'll qualify maybe through the playoff stages rather than actually winning this.
Well, you say they play through the playoff stages, but you don't know who you're going to draw.
No, I agree.
Draw France,
but you've got a one-off chance. Yeah, France.
Absolutely, you could draw France. You could draw a host of quality.
Well, look, it's in our hands. If we beat Montenegro at home and win the other 3 matches, we're through, and that's the end of it.
I mean, is it correct in saying that England are currently ranked, or they're ranked number 5 or number 4 in the world? That's a completely ridiculous ranking for a side like that.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I'm extremely concerned, because I was going to nip over to Brazil next month to sort out our accommodation for next year, Dominic. And
I'd hang on for the minute.
Well, exactly.
Talk Radio Europe are flying you out to sort the accommodation, are they?
Well, our accommodation for next year.
But they're flying you out. What's wrong with me? Are you going first class?
Sorry?
First class?
No, they'd only pay second, but I've upgraded it.
I know why you're going out to Brazil, mate, but we won't be discussing that during the sports show. But I'm sure we can leave that to your imagination out there. But overall, England, I mean, a great win, obviously.
So, I mean, if England don't qualify, Dom, I think the trip's off.
Well, I hope they qualify in that case. Huh?
I'm not optimistic.
Come on, let's go and find myself a nice pair of Speedos.
I thought Lescott was absolutely shocking on that.
Oh, defensively they were so poor. They were very lucky. Do you know, funny enough, in the last 5 minutes they could have won it.
And this insistence on playing this Milner on the right wing, this, you know...
He's a grafter.
He's a grafter.
The manager likes a grafter.
He's like an old cart horse.
He likes a grafter. That's why he's in the team.
You know, this is... I mean, you know, we all expressed our severe reservations with Hodgson's appointment, you know, last year, and I don't think we've been far off, really, because there's absolutely nothing in his style of management that convinces me that England are going to qualify.
But if you just compare England to the top nations, Germany. I mean, Germany.
You can't.
I mean, you look at Germany; they had a host of injuries. I mean, in fact, they didn't even. Don't even think they had any proper strikers to choose from. With the injury, Toni Kroos was injured. Miroslav Klose was injured. Mario Gomez, I think, was injured certainly on Friday. Whether he was on Monday, Tuesday, I can't remember. But still, they run away victories. The Netherlands march on unbeaten. You've got Russia doing very well as well. I think they remain unbeaten
as well.
You know, you look at the big teams; they keep churning out the results. Balotelli on form again for Italy. Another 2 goals.
They've got a good manager, Russia.
They've got a very good manager, haven't they? A very good manager.
Yeah.
You know, one who had a pretty good record for England.
Very good.
No, he just wasn't liked, was he? For some reason.
But he was successful.
Of course he was successful.
He was successful, but he wasn't liked, as you say. Just a word for Ramos, Sergio Ramos of Spain. He's 26. He got his 100th cap this week, which no one really has mentioned.
Only 26
years old. Scored the goal as well.
Seems like he's been around forever, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, incredible. And the guy's been a tremendous servant to Madrid and to Spain.
And watch out that Belgium team as well. You know, that Belgium team, they've a young team, certainly worth a fortune if you put the starting 11 out there. And another victory for them. It was only no loss. In fact, undefeated so far in the campaign.
Hang on, 2 victories.
With 1 draw.
They went to Macedonia and won 2-0, and then they beat...
to where?
They went to,
to McDonald's.
Did I say that right?
So they go to McDonald's and win 1-0, did you say?
No, I said that.
Macedonia, where's that?
Macadamia, isn't that the nuts?
Huh? I didn't realise.
I don't even know where it is. You tell me where it is.
It's Macedonia.
Okay, Macedonia.
It's about. It's just above Greece.
Okay, so I'll do my geography lesson. And Hazard scored again. I mean, you know, they've got a tremendous team, Belgium.
Alexander the Great came from Macedonia.
Really?
South America, there was qualifying in South America as well, wasn't there? Poor old Argentina managed to come away with a draw against Bolivia, but not without plenty of oxygen, and Lionel Messi being sick on the pitch because of the altitude. You've got a good story for us about Bolivia.
Well, I
want to hear this, Richard.
Well, I was in La Paz, God, it must have been 30 years ago or so, and I got altitude sickness. And there is only really one cure for it, which you have to drink coca leaf tea.
And what does that do to you?
It stops the altitude sickness.
And does it make you feel funny?
No, it gives you a bit of a buzz as well, you know. But it's perfectly legal there. You know, you go into a cafe and say, "Oh,"
but you don't sleep much.
No, it doesn't. It's it does have a mildly sort of stimulative effect.
So perhaps that's what Argentina should have been drinking at half time instead of eating oranges or drinking Powerade.
I don't know whether they'd be able to because of the drug testing. But that is the standard. Right, okay. That is the standard cure in Bolivia for altitude sickness. You drink coca leaf tea. Or you can just chew the raw leaves with a little stone as well. But
you still do that down here at sea level, don't you? Huh? I mean, that's a cure for altitude sickness.
Absolutely.
It's a cure for every single level, isn't it? Every altitude level, just chew the cocoa tea and drink the tea.
Yeah, that's why all the miners, they have a coca leaf tea break.
Very quickly, Stu, give me a roundup of the South American because we need to get Nick Compton on the line.
It is incredibly debilitating. And you walk a mile and you feel as though you've walked 10 miles. It's
really,
yeah.
Well, Argentina drew 1-1 with Bolivia, and then they beat Venezuela as well 3-0. So they're doing very comfortable. They're at the top of the South American table with 24 points. Ecuador, Colombia, and Chile follow. It looks like Uruguay are going to have a very hard go to try to qualify. They've really got to win their last 5. Well, they've got 5 matches to go. 3 of them are away, so they're going to have really have to get some results together. In the North Central American League, the Costa Ricas, the Jamaicas, Americas and all that sort of thing. Panama lead, which is also a shot from Costa Rica and USA. And Mexico struggling there, which is a surprise. People who know how... This is a strange way all this works. The Oceanic League, New Zealand lead clear and look like qualifying for Brazil.
But they have to go to a playoff, though, don't they?
Yes, they go into the... It's very hard to see who is going to be there at the end, but they're winning their section quite easy. In the African leagues, there's loads of matches still to play. It's very hard to find a winner there. And in the Asian competition, come on, Richard, pronounce that because you're better.
Uzbekistan.
Amazing. They may qualify, which would be absolutely incredible. Where is that? What country? Where is that?
Well, it's near Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, and I've got a feeling that Uzbekistan is one of these incredibly oil-rich republics.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're going through, and probably with Japan into the qualifying stages. I don't know how it's all worked out, but we'll see what happens.
Brilliant stuff, gentlemen. We must go to a commercial break. Stay tuned. Opening batsman from England, Nick Compton, will tell us about his first Test series against India and New Zealand, his first touring winter with England at the other side of these messages.
Sports Bar with Dom Aldworth on Talk Radio Europe.
Well, welcome back to the Friday Night Sports Bar. Joining me now on the line is England opening batsman Nick Compton, just returned from New Zealand. A very jet-lagged Nick Compton, I might say. A very successful, certainly first couple of winter tours for England for Nick. A warm welcome to Talk Radio Europe and the Friday Night Sports Bar, Nick.
Thanks, Dom. Good to be on.
Fantastic to have you on once again. We spoke very briefly to you after your selection for England. First 2 tours now, but before we talk, we just want to talk very much about that last day. Third and deciding Test match, 90 for 4. We came on air actually in our show on Monday night, and I said, I couldn't see anything happening there other than a New Zealand win. But this is what makes Test match cricket so great. Just tell us about that last day's play, Nick.
Well, mate, I was hidden in the change room somewhere. I think myself, Trott and Bell, and a nervous, anxious-looking Monty Panesar who had his gloves, pads, and the whole works on while Stuart Broad and Matt Pryor were sort of, heroically doing their thing. And we had a few silly laughs and what have you, but there was no way we were going to leave that seat. It worked for the last 2 hours. So every time someone stood up to go to the toilet, it was like a mad rush to the toilet to get back on that seat very quickly. Not that cricketers are that superstitious, but... It was an enthralling day, really. I must be honest. I thought our chances were limited. As much as we had some good players to come in and a lot of fight. But I think to actually hold on and do it in the manner that we did it, and I can't say enough about Matt's innings. I mean, he seems to go from strength to strength. Having played with him now, I very rarely see him fail, and I don't want to put the markers on him for the rest of the season. But he's been in an amazing form, and he really has it all. He scores quickly, and he also can show that fight. So it was great to be there and be a part of. It was just nerve-wracking stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there, Matt Pryor. I mean, a quality player, great attacking batsman, but he certainly showed an innings of real substance and fight, something we haven't really seen too much from Matt Pryor, but I suppose that's just something that comes with age and experience.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I think Matt's always had that sort of character where he's almost a rear guard sort of player. He believes that if someone comes hard, he's going to go harder. There's only so much pressure you can absorb, I suppose, as a batter. I look at it slightly differently, perhaps more at the top of the innings where I look to absorb the pressure and then cash in later on. I think Matt's the sort of guy who goes out there. He plays his cricket like with his heart on the sleeve, really. I think he's an all-out cricketer. He is in the field. You know, he G's everyone up. He's the wicket-keeper. He's almost the engine room. And I think he does the same thing with the bat. I think he goes out there and he sort of really shows that character and what England's about. And I know that, you know, that innings, I think, meant a huge amount to him because, you know, he's a leader in our change room. And, you know, it was just nice to see him do it.
Hi, Nick. This is Richard in the studio with Dominic. I agree with you about Matt Pryor. I think he's an absolute very talented cricketer. And if you just think that he's only one off Les Ames's record for being the wicketkeeper, you know, who scored the most amount of centuries for England, and I reckon he could go down in history as perhaps our greatest ever wicketkeeper batsman. Because he's going to be around for another 3-4 years, and I think also when you look at, you know, how his keeping's improved over the last few years. I mean, he's now, I think, a real quality act behind the stumps, and which perhaps he wouldn't have said, you know, when he first burst onto the scene, you know, sort of 6-7 years ago.
I found Matt a really good ally for me in many ways. We go back quite a long way, having played a lot of junior cricket together and been in various academy sides and what have you, and. You know, I've obviously played against him for Sussex for quite a few years, and you know, he's a good guy to talk to. I think about the reality of being an international, you know, cricketer. You know, his journey. You know, I think a lot of sportsmen nowadays, you know, cover, although it's coming out more and more, just you know how tough it is and what people go through. And I think Matt's he's been very good in terms of that support. You know, coming to one's room at night and talking about what he went through and how his keeping has developed. You know, how he was quite nervous when he first started, and there's a lot of negative thoughts, and how he went away and worked really hard with Bruce French, the keeping coach, and I know he's worked incredibly hard with him, and you know, it's obviously given him a lot of confidence. It's given him a method that he sticks to. You know, every morning he does the same drills, and the same with his batting. I think his batting's very uncomplicated, but yet, you know, he might not hit too many balls and stuff, but he's very switched on when he goes out there, and I think you know, you can't score him in the nets, as he says, and he goes out there, and I think, you know, you really see character when he bats. You know, I think that's the great thing about watching him. You know, there's a flair, there's obviously a huge amount of ability. You know, he's an attractive guy to watch, but I think he has that kind of that real strength and that attitude, and I think that makes him obviously you know, great for the spine of the back order there, if you know what I mean.
Well, there seems to be a real steely determination about him. You know, he's the sort of character that if you were in the trenches, you'd want next to you.
Yeah, he walks the talk, you know what I mean? He has a bit to say on the field, you know, he's quite a vocal guy. I think you have to be as a keeper. You know, he has a lot of energy all day, which is incredibly tough. I mean, you know, to even feel the backward point where I do for a 6-hour, 7-hour session in the day, it takes a lot out of you, especially in Test cricket.
But Nick, what did he say in that famous team talk? Because he gave the team talk, didn't he, on the final day?
He did, yeah. He just said that you know, one of the themes was, you know, this is an England team that doesn't give up. It's something that we'll fight and we'll keep going. And he said that's the choice we have. We can either stand here and sort of feel sorry for ourselves, otherwise we can keep going all the way into the end. And he just said that, you know, someone can be a real hero today. And he said, you know, make sure it's you. You know, someone can be a hero. And it obviously, whether he was talking to himself and not trying to G himself up because he wanted to be the hero, but I think that's great. You know, I think that just shows that he wants to be on that stage, and he wanted to be doing that, and I think that's, you know, that's part of it really. And to go out there and actually deliver is something that Andy Flower said afterwards. You know, Matt, you said it in the morning, and you went out and did it. You know, and I think you can't ask for any more.
Nick, your Test career is now 7 Test matches in. It began against India at the beginning of the winter, finished in New Zealand, 2 totally different cricketing environments for you. And just for the listeners out there that might not have a great understanding of cricket, the job and the role that you fulfilled, certainly stepping into Andrew Strauss's shoes, you had some big shoes to step into. But you probably got one of the most difficult jobs to do out of all the 11, facing that new ball, facing some hostile pace at times. You had a pretty good start in India. You built some good innings. You occupied the crease, faced a lot of deliveries, but finally your first Test century came in the first Test match against New Zealand, and you followed it up with a second one. 440 runs now at an average of 40 overall. How would you appraise your first winter tour at Test match level?
Well, I think as a batsman, there's a lot of uncontrollables. You know, you realise that the more you play, a lot of things that you can't control, conditions, you know, how the bowlers are going to perform, you know, the opposition. But I've sort of come to realise that there has to be a stability somewhere, and I think the stability comes in your mindset and your approach to yourself and your batting and the way that you go about your work each day. I think if you can keep that fairly consistent, you have a foundation to work from. I think if you're changing constantly, trying to find something, I think that you're on a slippery slope. We've all been there, and no doubt I'll probably go there again. But I think the one thing I try to promise myself that when I got into the England side was to really stick to the mindset and the processes that A, worked well for me in county cricket and it got me a stack full of runs, and also to give myself the best chance. And I know as a batsman that, the longer you spend out there, I also know that the longer I spend out there, it's going to get easier. The longer I spend out there, I'm going to have more runs because I face more deliveries. And the longer I spend out there, I'm doing a job for the team because as an opener, you're laying that foundation and you're setting the platform. So it was really a win-win situation in terms of my approach. I think confidence and relaxing and opening up a little bit are things that come. I think, you have to build that platform. Sometimes, it can be tough. I think in India, it was sort of a little bit frustrating. I felt happy that I'd contributed, happy to be a part of such a historic, Test victory. But I sort of felt over the Christmas period that there was something nagging away, thinking, gee, that 50-odd, it could have been 100, and a couple of the 30s I got, I really felt like I was going to get a score there, and then, innocuously, I got out, whether it was just sort of, nicking, one or missing one from a spinner. I sort of felt like I was very close, maybe a boundary or two away from really kicking on and making more of those 30s into 50s, perhaps even 100. And that didn't happen. So I went away and really made sure that I worked hard for New Zealand. I knew that New Zealand was going to be a good place to bat, probably more similar to England. And, I thought, again, the same approach, the same mentality, the same kind of composure, because I think that's important as well. So I'm happy with the way that I've gone about it, and I was chuffed to obviously get my first century. It was an amazing feeling. It is, as the cliche goes, but it is what dreams are made of. And to follow it up with another one was something that reminded me and got me back into that feeling of being very hungry, determined. And I think if you've got those feelings as a batter, then you've always got a chance of scoring runs.
And Nick, sorry, the challenge gets even greater now. 2 Ashes series in 1 year. That's your next focus. The Australians are coming to England first, off the back of a 4-0 drubbing by India, I might add. But these are going to be completely different conditions. I mean, of course, without the likes of Michael Hussey and Ricky Ponting there in the middle order, I'm sure Shane Watson will return to form. I mean, they've got some pace aces in Mitchell Johnson, Patterson, Stark, Siddle, Hilfenes, who will perform particularly well in England with the swing. Cummins as well, a host of young, very, very quick fast bowlers. They will perform on English wickets, make no mistake about that, and it'll be certainly a better Australian side, I think, than we've seen recently in New Zealand, in India, beg your pardon.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think the press probably make more of it than we do as players. I think everyone said that we should go to New Zealand and drill the Kiwis. I think as players, we weren't of that mindset. We realised they were going to be tough, and looking back now, we were lucky to get away with a drawn series. They played good cricket. There's no difference with Australia. But to be honest with you, there's 2 Test matches against New Zealand before that. So, as much as getting caught up in the lights and the highs of the possibility of playing in a Test series against Australia, I think what's worked for me as well is just hopefully get selected for that New Zealand series and do well enough there to then try and push on. I've really tried to it sounds again cliched, but I've tried to take it one game at a time, because I think in cricket every time I've looked too far ahead, whether it be during an innings or even in a career, I think suddenly you find yourself getting in trouble. I mean, at the moment, I'm 7 Test matches in, and I've obviously loved every minute of it, and long may it continue. But I'm not going to start looking at Ashes and what may or may not be. I know that when Australia get here, it'll be a very tough series, no doubt.
Looking forward to that very much, Nick. And listen, I know you're very jet lagged. You want to try and get your body clock back in English time. Thanks so much for giving your time up so soon after you've returned as well. And many congratulations on your own personal form. We look forward to seeing you continue that against Australia throughout the summer and through the next 8 to 10 months at least. And thanks very much indeed for your time, Nick. Much appreciated.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers, Nick. Nick Compton there, England opening batsman. Fantastic to hear from him. I mean, and the guy is a quality player. 28, 29 years old now. He's got about 7,500 first-class runs. He's proved that Test cricket is where he belongs.
And I think he's also got the right temperament for it. And, because the pressure of having, such illustrious great uncle and grandfather, and the expectations that I suppose that is put places on him, from people, who remember them. you've got to have a real mental toughness to then succeed in the game and not be overawed by that. And
well, he showed that in India. I mean, as he said, it was very frustrating for him, getting to 40, he's getting 50, but spending a lot of time at the wicket, which is what he did. He faced a lot of balls, and I watched a lot of Nick's batting, and it must have been very frustrating for him because he proved he can occupy the crease. He proved that he belongs at this, but when you get that 40, you should be going to 50, and when you get that 50, you should be getting 100. That is what a batsman's mindset should always be.
Well, absolutely, but I mean, at least he was putting in those 40s and 50s, and hopefully these couple of centuries and he certainly looked as though he enjoyed the second century a lot more than the first one. Those are some very nervous moments he spent in the 90s before he got that first century. I think he was a mighty relieved player.
But I think Andy Flower, you've got to think about this perspective. Andrew Strauss opening the innings, captaining England for as long as he did, as successfully as he did as well. I'm sure in the back of his mind, coming into the winter tours, he was thinking, well, he sincerely hopes to nail down somebody that can occupy the crease with Alistair Cook, England's best batsman, without a doubt, one of the best batsmen in the world, Alistair Cook. But he needed to find a partnership as quickly as he possibly could with the Ashes series. And I think now Andy Flower will be very much, his mind will be at rest knowing that he's managed to find somebody as soon as they did.
Yeah, I mean, the England batting lineup, you have to say, looks extremely strong. And, I think that when you look at the future, the forthcoming Ashes battle, that's one thing you can't necessarily say about the Australian team. Their batting looks very, very weak. And, Peter Siddle, you mentioned, and Hilfenhaus. But, both these players, they're pushing on a bit. They're not the young tyros that they were 4 years ago. And
but then you've got these other lads to think of. You've got young Patterson, you've got Cummins.
But then,
these guys are bowling at 145, 150, and it's a nice green tops. It's going to be, especially for Nick and Alistair Cook up front against the new ball, it's going to be very difficult for them.
Dominic, I mean, they can be bowling at 155, but if they're not putting it in the right spot, it doesn't really matter. I mean, and I'm just trying to remember who was the Australian left arm bowler who was their sort of big thing from the last Ashes tour. What was
Mitchell Johnson.
Mitchell Johnson, okay. And, he was just batted out of the game by England, out of the Test series. I mean, they took him apart, and after that he just couldn't find the right length, and, he's a quick and dangerous bowler.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that he's in and out of the game. He can be absolutely brilliant in one day and terrible the next. We must go to a commercial break, Rich. We've got two more to get through. Then we've got Stu to come back in and tell us about Premiership football that's taking place this weekend.
TRE. Sports Bar with Dom Ordworth on Talk Radio Europe.
Well, welcome back to the last part of the show. European football is back on the agenda. In Spain, Lionel Messi is eyeing for another record against Celta Vigo. 29 goals in the last 18. If he manages to score this weekend, he'll become the first player to score against every Spanish league opponent in consecutive order. The guy keeps breaking records. Real Madrid are away against Real Zaragoza. Barcelona versus Celta Vigo. Atletico Madrid versus Valencia is the pick of the fixtures, but a big one for Malaga, Stu.
Well, Malaga got two big matches there, away to Real Vallecano this week, and then Real Sociedad, also chasing for Europe. And with respect to Malaga, they need to get something out of this. They've only got 2 points from a possible 12 the last 4 matches, and if they drop any points here, they'll have trouble qualifying for any European competition. So let's hope they do well. The game is live on TRE on Saturday afternoon. I think the kick-off's at 4, so please join the gang. It'll be a great afternoon's entertainment.
Massive game for Malaga there. In Italy, the big fixture of the weekend is Inter Milan hosting Juventus. And in Germany, unbelievably so, Bayern Munich versus Hamburg, Stuttgart versus Borussia Dortmund. Bayern Munich could win the Bundesliga this weekend if they beat Hamburg and Borussia Dortmund leave to Stuttgart. That's an unbelievable thought, considering there's still, 8 or 10 or 12 matches left in their season. But the Premier League as well begins this weekend. Again, the final stretch really, Stu. The fight for those Champions League and European places. Manchester United, of course, have sewn up the title, and even Mancini conceded that.
Well, do you know, if we run through these games quickly, every single game has a meaning. Just briefly, Arsenal play Reading. Arsenal need points, obviously, so do Reading to stay up. Everton and Stoke. Everton need points for Europe. Manchester City and Newcastle. Manchester City need to stay where they are. Southampton, Chelsea. Chelsea need points. Southampton as well to stay up. Sunderland, Man United. Well, forget Man United. I think that's home and dry. Sunderland need points. They're too near the bottom. Swansea and Tottenham. My team Spurs. We desperately need to win this weekend. West Ham and West Brom. West Ham still need a few points. Wigan, Norwich. Wigan need points desperately. Aston Villa, Liverpool on Sunday. Villa need points. And Fulham and QPR. Well, what can I say? QPR have to win. So we've all the matches that come up this weekend, Richard, every match has a meaning, which is fantastic.
Well, I disagree with you. I think that, when you look at the Man City game, the only meaning there is for the players is, they're playing for a place in the team next weekend for the semi-final.
But there'd be embarrassment not to finish second. I mean, if they drop a few points and Chelsea keep winning, I mean, there could be quite embarrassing.
Well, I mean, if Chelsea keep winning, but I mean, the thing is, Chelsea have got a really, really difficult fixture this weekend away at Southampton. They're going to have one eye on the replay on Monday, and I think that it's a sort of fixture where Chelsea could well come unstuck.
And Thursday, they're in the Europa as well.
Sorry?
They've got a Europa match on Thursday night as well.
And
so
the Europa,
non-stop.
but I mean, the thing is, they're going to, I think the team will, obviously some of the players will sort of be prioritising, and I think that, priority number one will be beating Man United on Monday. It won't be what Benitez wants. Obviously, he wants them to secure that Champions League. But
no, the fans want to win. The fans want to beat Manchester United. They want to go to Wembley.
Yeah, they want to go to Wembley.
Absolutely.
Okay, and they want some silverware. And if at the end of the season, Chelsea have managed to retain the FA Cup and, got to the final or semi-final of the Europa Cup, a lot of Chelsea fans will say, well, for a season that didn't promise too much, it's turned out not too bad.
Absolutely, and the winners are playing Wigan and Millwall in the final of the FA Cup. I mean, you think whoever's going to win on Monday night would take the trophy as well.
Exactly.
We've still got a bit of time left to go there. How's Gareth Bale's fitness for this weekend?
Gareth Bale's fine, thank you very much indeed for asking. He's fine. He was rested for part of one of the games that they played during the week, the big matches. And I think he'll come out fighting because he's been a bit subdued the last 3 or 4
Did
games.
they wrap him in a towel and feed him a bottle of milk? Or?
I don't care what they do with him as long as he comes out and scores the winning goal tomorrow.
Well, what you
I'll be very
really
happy.
need is Jermaine Defoe to find his shooting boots.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he did against
San Marino. Why didn't he come on, tell me, in late stages against Montenegro? I didn't understand
but San Marino, I mean,
Now, forget San Marino. You can't even talk about it.
But listen,
you could score against
You've got to give
San
Defoe
Marino.
some credit. I mean, when he's on good goal scoring form, he is a quality finisher, isn't he, Defoe?
Yes, and these teams like Montenegro and some of these other teams should go into a qualifier and then let the best team come out and go into with the other games because it's really a mess. It's a waste of time.
Why do you think Hodgson didn't ring the changes or at least do something to change tactically at half-time?
No plan B. I couldn't understand it. The team needed changing. It needed someone up there a little bit fast or someone playing alongside Rooney.
Unfortunately, I mean, Hodgson would be brilliant for England if we were in a league situation and England were facing relegation.
You are dead right, Richard. You are 100% right.
Roy Hodgson would be the man you wanted. But the thing is, I mean, if you're going to appoint an England manager, to me the most important criteria is that he's a winner and that he's won something in his career. And when I look at Roy Hodgson, yes, I mean, he's been at a lot of big clubs. He's been at Liverpool.
He's been successful at those clubs, but I get your point. He hasn't been a Mourinho. He hasn't been a Del Bosque. He hasn't
won anything at those clubs.
Yeah, but hang on. In defence of Hodgson, he's only got the talent he's got, and it's not a lot of talent that went out the other.
Yeah, that's another fair point.
The thing is, he's not a winner. He's a nearly man.
But he's kind of doing with England what he used to do at Fulham, didn't he? He didn't have a very talented pool of players. But
he's another Steve McLaren. He's another, Taylor. He's not a winner. And I think that if you're to imbue that winning mentality